At about 4 o'clock, so we'll call our meeting to order. If we should encounter an emergency situation, we will all exit the building. There's 2 sets of doors off of the lobby, and if for some reason those exits are not available, please follow council, and there's another exit behind council chambers here. Our muster point is located near the gazebo in Lions Park, and if we're evacuated for any reason, we will not re-enter the building until we're given an all clear from staff. Thank you. I'll also note before we begin that this meeting is being recorded. The recording may include your image, your voice, or other personal information. This information is collected under the Protection of Privacy Act. If you have any questions about this, please contact the town's Access and Privacy Coordinator. Next, we'll move to the land acknowledgement. Councillor Bilodeau.
The town of Sylvan Lake respectfully acknowledges that the land in which we gather is Treaty 6 territory, home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. These lands are traditional meeting grounds, gathering places, and travel routes for the many nations, including the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Métis, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today, and those who have gone on before us. We acknowledge and thank all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries.
Thank you, Councillor Bilodeau. Next, we'll move into open microphone. Open microphone is an opportunity for a member of the public to express their feedback on issues pertaining to council's work. Each open microphone session is limited to a maximum of 15 minutes, and we give 5 minutes per speaker of speaking time, or up to a maximum. We do have 3 signed up tonight for open microphone. We'll start with Mr. Flanagan. Welcome. You can settle in. That microphone is on. You will hear just a number of beeps, and if you can hang tight until those complete, and then we're happy to hear from you.
May I sit down?
Yes, please do. And you'll see the countdown clock is almost at your time, and then we're happy to hear from you. There you are. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Hanson and Council. My name is Flanagan, and I'm speaking on behalf of the business downtown at Lakeland Plaza, all the businesses that pay me for parking, among other things, and that parking should be available within a special sort of land that is privately owned but accessible to the public. We have between 15 and 20 signs, highly visible, posted everywhere to make it clear that that parking is for customers only and that violators would be subject to a sanction, tagged and towed. Unfortunately, that is not possible at the present time. I mean, I can certainly put a tag on there, but it has no legal validity. So I have written to councils, previous councils over the years, asking that council look at other municipalities. This is not a problem unique to Lakeland Plaza, but it's becoming more and more acute. The town is growing, more vehicles. The town has recently approved development in the neighborhood, for example, a 33-unit apartment or condo-style building. The Best Western Hotel is there, and certainly at peak season, they do not have adequate parking, I believe. The owner has approached me looking for parking solutions, which I am not able to provide. As well, that same party has recently acquired the property that I know as Smuggler's Den, maybe known to others here as Sweet Home at the Lake. There's been difficulty between that facility and the adjacent condominium about the surface or at-grade parking structure. I'm not privy to the details. All I know is it's been barricaded and roughly 20 to 25 stalls have been taken offline that were intended to support those facilities. With the redevelopment that's now being applied for the Sweet Home property, there'd be, I think, very significant new demand for additional parking, and the application that's come to me in the last couple of days speaks of 5 stalls that the owner is providing, and that would be in the already deficient parking lot right across the street. I believe those are not real stalls. Those are pseudo stalls intended for short-term use, but to respond to a technical compliance with the bare minimum that's contemplated by the land use bylaw. On Fridays, the large parking facility owned by the town is taken over by the farmers market. Most of the parking in that area is not available that day. Everyone who makes use of the farmers market would be well acquainted with the squeeze on parking, and our parking lot is considered to be an adjunct to that. Now, these are the problems. What are the solutions? Some municipalities do nothing. I would put Sylvan Lake in that category. Private is private, public is public. You know, this is a distinction that's overlooked at tax time, but I say these are 5 or 6 or 7 businesses that are looking to me to look to you to provide an effective solution. Edmonton, for example, has a program called the Private Agency Parking Enforcement Program. They will enforce it. They require people to go and be schooled on parking enforcement, 2 volunteers per lot. These people are then given the power to write tickets and whatnot. So if it's municipal resources that are in issue, that is presumably the City of Edmonton's response to that. Red Deer, there is a mechanism that seems to be effective, and other municipalities have adopted the line so far by Sylvan. So all I'm asking is that the council address its mind to it. With the redevelopment of Main Street coming next year, we can anticipate a shift of parking from Main Street over. We're just getting it from every direction. My 5 minutes is up. You know the problem. I'm hoping you can find a solution, because the status quo is not viable.
Before you run away, Mr. Flanagan, I'll just ask council, is there any questions? Councillor Iwaniki, feel free to have a seat and we'll grill you nicely.
Well, Mr. Flanagan, I'm just wondering what's the impediment to getting a vehicle tagged and towed? Is it just a lack of bylaw enforcement, or what's the problem?
The private agencies will not do it. That's the problem. There was a firm or two came to town. We saw them at the Cobb's parking lot. Another perfect example of a communalized parking lot. Ownership is sort of an abstraction. People need it, they use it. And so they engaged a firm, and I went to see, before I took a leap into that pond, where would the vehicle be taken? What are the terms and conditions? How will the vehicle be retrieved? We're not here to crucify or punish people who have come to Sylvan, or even the local people who well understand how difficult it is to enforce parking, and therefore it can be spurned. No, these people had no effective, proper mechanism. There is, standing beside it, the town of Sylvan Lake, which is able to enforce parking on public streets and whatnot. They have a firm or two. They have a pound to take it to. Presumably they have a rate structure. They have a fine supported by a bylaw. And we just want to plug into it. That's what makes sense. You know, I believe once a bare minimum of enforcement is enacted, this problem will go away. But as long as you know that the signs are meaningless, it's a scarecrow, and the crows have gotten used to it, then we'll never solve this problem. So you know, the most minimal enforcement, it could be a 50-cent fine for all, just the fact that you've been identified, and you know, with the increase in parking rates and whatnot, this is just going to exacerbate it. Like, it's just every variable and vector you want to identify. It's just, there's a gross inadequacy in the available parking in downtown Sylvan Lake, especially at peak times, and we don't have a means of regulating it for the benefit of our clients, our tenants.
Thank you. And we just have one more question from Councillor here, Councillor Ostindi.
The reference to the 5 parking spots that allegedly might solve a building permit or satisfied, where were those 5 spots from your understanding?
Well, I just got the drawing.
Okay.
It's an application, it has not been approved by council.
Sure.
But right across from the drawing that was submitted to me, which I will be intervening and opposing, the same fellow came and saw me, and I know basically he's not acquiring like a 10-year lease on 5 stalls in a parking lot that's already deficient. I don't know. To me, it's all just
Sure, I just was wondering
sham.
where. I'll watch for the map then. Thanks.
Yeah, technical compliance. There's not 5 real stalls there for the next 20 years or whatever that development. I wish the man nothing but the best. It's just the parking. Like, what about the parking? Where are your people going to go? And I know where they're going to go. They're going to go to my parking lot. So
Thank you.
We have to try to defend our turf. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move along to Mr. Schmidt. Welcome. You saw the drill. You'll see the timer up on the side here and hear all the beeps, and then we're happy to hear from you.
Thank goodness I'm not the first one to do the run through. Gave me ideas.
Let someone show you how it's done. There you are.
First off, I'm going to start with thank you everyone for your time and considerations before I start with a offensive, vulgar parental advisory topic. I'm coming in as a citizen of the province of Alberta. I was residing in Sylvan Lake previous to my displacement. I'm 60 days back of being displaced, and I've found a place to have a foothold, so to speak, here in Sylvan. So technically, I'm going to say I've been a citizen or resident for about 12 months in Sylvan Lake. I've noticed that the walking path system has a lot of groundwork or infrastructure for the next phases or the next steps. Let's do a foot stalk. Let's see how far we can walk, everyone. To the topic I'm actually here to talk about, which is public cannabis use. I've done my due diligence of looking into the laws and so forth. I've spoken with some politicians about it previously, as I'm a green space advocate for advocating for public use, which is frowned upon just like drinking in public. Keep it to your own property. And is basically the mentality I've been told. That's what the law basically says, is keep it to your little piece of heaven and shut up, stop talking about it. For individuals like myself who live a nomadic lifestyle or are classified as gypsies, we can't always smoke. This is me going third person. We can't always smoke at the residences that we are currently residing for our business trips. So where the ultimate question, which doesn't need to be answered, is where is the safe place for an individual to consume what helps them relax while they're trying to enjoy some relaxation time, some R&R. I've already done some homework of painting and snipping, copying and cutting with maps of my proposed areas for people that are already behind me going, I just want to smoke my joint on the way to the beach. Where can I do it? You got enough money to pay the ticket. It's $250 if I'm correct. How many of those fines need to be thrown out in court? Or how many of those fines need to be dished out before it's publicly acceptable for a person to enjoy a quarter-mile stretch of walking path? And at that point right there of I've done my quarter mile as quick as I can, and I still can't stop people from wanting to be idiots, pardon my language. And that's about all I have to say.
Thank you. Council will ask if there's any questions. No, thank you for your time and your presentation.
Yep. Thank you for listening.
And finally, on open mic tonight, we've got Ms. Kluchuk, who always chooses the seat right behind anyone. And I read this and go, she's not here. Or sorry, right behind somebody, so you're blocked out. Welcome. You know the drill at this point. If you can just wait for the beeps and the timers right on the clock there.
Howdy doody, Mayor and Council. Thank you for making time for me to speak. You know how you don't decide you're going to talk till you get somewhere and you talk? Did you guys ever do that? Okay. So I have a topic to bring to discussion and a solution and a possible opportunity. In walking about and talking with people and asking questions over the last couple of weeks specifically, I've had many people that are not classified as residents of Sylvan Lake, but live in close proximities of Sylvan Lake. They are concerned about parking costs, and they have said that due to the increases and the rates, because they have supported local businesses that now they would need to pay parking fees, they've said, we are going to choose to not come to Sylvan Lake and support some of those businesses, some of those opportunities that were there before that are not going to be available to us now because we're not paying X number of dollars. So I said to them, okay, do you have a solution? Do you have something that you would consider? And I don't know that this is an option or even a consideration, but they said, how about just an annual rate of X number of dollars that we can pay and have that availability to come and go to Sylvan and still support the businesses that we are part of, that we want to continue to do so, but we will not if this continues. So I've suggested to them, can you put in your names, your inputs, because I'm not walking around with a petition and getting signatures. Well, they'll never listen to us. I said, well, how do you know they're not going to listen if you don't talk, if you don't let them know? Well, how about you talk for us? Okay, so I'll bring it to council and see what they think, because I don't know. Is it possible to have an annual pass of X number of dollars that they can come and they can still support the businesses and the places that they've been part of so that they will continue to do what they're doing because they love it. And now they're upset and angry. So anyway.
Now, before I go to questions, I'd love to share some good news.
Well, good news,
We actually do have an annual pass.
Okay.
It is the cost of 5 parking sessions, so it's $250 to park like a resident for the year.
For the year, okay.
That currently exists.
Okay.
That cost was something that was adjusted this year, so we're certainly always open to feedback on that year after year as we make it, but we've had that since the very first year. It did increase in cost, just like the rest of the parking this year, but we've had that since the very first year, because we recognize there are folks that paying that daily rate would just be unreasonable because they use every service here in Sylvan Lake. And originally, that was calculated based on the costs of tourism to a local resident. It was quite a similar cost. I'm not sure if that assessment still stands in the same way, but I do anticipate we'll be talking about parking again shortly. So thank you for bringing that forward. And I did jump in ahead of turn, so council, I'll ask, is there any questions? Yeah, Councillor Johansson.
Actually, just I have a question for Ms. Phillips. Because I've had this concern, and I've actually told people on Facebook that we do have this. If there's a way we could like really advertise that, I think that would be great, because there is a lot of confusion, because I know we did talk about it and it was equal to essentially what each Laker pays in taxes for the beach. So if we could just be really put that out there, because that is 100%, I've heard that from probably honestly 40 or 50 people at this point. So, and I think that's a very legitimate concern. So if we could do that, that'd be awesome. So thank you.
Thank you, so I don't feel like such a dinglefritz because I didn't know.
It is not only you. I can't tell you how many times I've had that conversation recently. So
awesome.
That's a great point taken.
Thank you. Now I know something to tell them something. Excellent.
Please report back and spread the word.
Okie dokie. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night. All right, council, we've reached the end of open microphone for tonight. We'll go to adoption of the agenda. Do we have any items to add? Councillor Iwanicki?
Yeah, I'd like to add an emergent motion just to the end of the agenda, kind of after Councillor Burns.
Okay. Any other items, Ms. Phillips?
There are no other additions, thank you.
Great, I'll add that as item 10B under notice of motions. With that, would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Payne. Thank you. Unless you'd really like to say it, I don't think you were. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Next, we'll move along to consent agenda. Consent agenda is an item used to increase meeting efficiency. There's a number of items on your agenda marked with a asterisk. Those are ones recommended by administration to be left on the consent agenda. But council, as always, we have the opportunity to pull any items off if we've got extensive questions or if you'd like to debate them. Just ask that you do that prior to the motion being made. So council, with that, are there any items we'd like to remove? Councillor Ostindi.
Not for intensive questions, but a short discussion. The request to award tender pavement patching services.
Sure, let's
It's
remove
about communications.
that. Is there any other items? Seeing none, would someone like to make the motion excluding that item for the consent agenda? Councillor Hohenicke, thank you.
You just want me to make the motion without that part in there?
Yes, please.
I can do this. So that, or I move that the 2026-05-26 regular meeting of council meeting minutes be approved as presented, that the 2026-06-02 governance and priorities meeting of council meeting minutes be approved as presented, that council approve social media policy L002020 as presented and as outlined in AIR 1416, that council approves the vehicle use policy number E002001C as presented in report AIR 1371, and further that policy L002001B is hereby rescinded, that council approve the update to policy H002008B, the travel and expense claims policy, and assign future responsibility of the policy to the finance department, that council approves the 2026-2029 council strategic plan as presented in AIR or in report AIR 1418. The council approves the budget adjustment of $15,000 for the purchase of a zero-turn mower and trailer with the funds to come from CP 2604 as requested in report AIR 1428. Finally, that council appoint Susan Briggs to the Sylvan Lake Library Board for a term to expire October 24th, 2028 as per report AIR 1420.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We have the motion on the floor, so all those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, council. All right, next we will move into our delegation for tonight. Ms. Seeley, welcome. She is here from STARS. Looking forward to your presentation. We don't have a fancy clock that allows us to adjust for different times, but because you have more time than open mic, you'll notice the child's visual timer on Ms. Reynolds' desk. That will be your time clock, and if you hear a beep from over there, that has been your minutes. So, thank you very much. We're happy to hear from you. You don't have to wait for any beeps on that one. There are some pros to using that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mayor Hansen and Council. I'm Jackie Seeley, and I'm part of the fundraising team with STARS. I work remotely from my home in the small town of Bassano and travel much of southern and central Alberta working with municipalities. STARS has been serving rural Alberta for over 40 years now. And as a charitable organization, we continue to operate at no cost to the patient, thanks to the generosity of many. We do have a new CEO at STARS, and that's Dr. John Froh. He just recently celebrated his 1-year anniversary. Very much a critical care expert, just like our founder, Dr. Powell. Sadly, Dr. Powell passed away at the end of April last year. But we're in very good hands at STARS with Dr. Froh. STARS, for anyone who is not familiar with our early beginnings, was born out of necessity. And it was when a pregnant woman who died from blood loss before she could reach the care that she needed. It was one death too many for Dr. Powell. She left behind a father and their newborn. And so they rolled up their sleeves and began the work to get STARS off of the ground. And on December 1st of 1985, STARS flew its first mission to Lethbridge, Alberta for critically ill newborn Kelly Waldron. Here's a photo of Kelly with her husband and children. And as community members, it's important to reflect on the ripple effect of a life saved. In the beginning, we were Lions Air Ambulance, as seen on the bottom right. Thanks to the Lions Clubs for providing some seed funding for us to lease a helicopter. And then at one point we became STARS, Shock Trauma Air Rescue Service, and the helicopter was painted red. Today, starting in 2021, we started phasing in 10 H-145 helicopters that are similar in size and weight to our previous PK-117. So we do have a fleet of 10 that serve Western Canada. STARS was born out of necessity, like I said, but we have continued to grow based on community need. We started with one base in Calgary, then added Edmonton, Grand Prairie, Saskatoon, Regina, and a base in Winnipeg. We work with multiple partners in the chain of survival. First and foremost, your fire department that helps with the safe landing of our helicopter on the highway at scene calls. Police, RCMP, search and rescue, Alberta Health Services fixed wing, and of course the rural health professionals at the hospitals. We do have night vision goggle capability, and with over half of our calls being at night, that is essential. These are the types of missions that we fly for as of the end of our last fiscal year. So cardiac at number 1, 21%, and then vehicle incidents at 19%, and a mix of other critically ill and injured missions. Here is a 5-year mission overview within Red Deer County. So as you can see, it is a very busy area. 467 missions flown over just a 5-year period, an average of 93 missions every year. It's our highest area for missions, similar to Lethbridge County being over 70 missions per year. So what I want to explain is that typically patients come in by ground ambulance to the hospital, and if critical, then STARS is called. So you can see that around Sylvan Lake, 10 patients were flown by helicopter, but a number of patients were probably already taken in to Red Deer Hospital, and then when critical, STARS has picked them up from Red Deer Hospital. So that's where the interfacility transfers come in. The remainder of the area is all scene calls where likely we've landed on the highway or in other areas. You can see on the map on the left side that there's a number of locations for missions. To speak to our funding, $36.6 million per year just to operate in Alberta alone. $15 million comes from our largest donor, Alberta Health Services. But the important thing to remember is that block funding, no matter how many missions we fly, excludes training of our crew, our world-class crew. Training and education excludes the cost of our emergency link center in Calgary, our dispatch center, and excludes administration costs. So this is why we reach out to community to help with funding. STARS has been built by the community for the community since the beginning, and thankfully after 40 years we continue to operate at no cost to the patient. The STARS lottery brings in a large portion of funding, as do business, corporate, and individual donations, and our municipal initiative. Municipalities recognize STARS as an essential extension to the emergency services in their community, and with that we have over 95% of municipalities supporting. 80% of those are regional leaders. So you can see on the chart here, some areas are under the $2 per capita, and most are regional leaders, shown in the navy blue. Our provincial leaders are at a higher rate of support, and when they reach 500,000 in cumulative giving, they're recognized with a logo unveiling on one of our helicopters. So that's a way that we can say thank you. Many municipalities recognize us as a part of their emergency services budget at a fixed rate. So we appreciate the sustainability that provides for STARS. The red areas show full regional partnerships where the county or MD and the municipalities within towns and villages are all supporting in a united effort to ensure this essential service. We do provide virtual calls to the hospital as well. Over 1,000 calls now have been reached. Our crew is, like I said, world-class, and that is evidenced by the fact that yearly we attend an air medical transport conference where there's a simulation competition, and basically our team of 2 had to triage a critical farm incident, and where they're graded on their timing, decision-making, and ultimately the outcome of the patient. So in the 24 years, we have always placed within the top 3, and 9 of those years, we have placed first place. So this is what you would be choosing to support, is that when we arrive, we're bringing world-class crew right to the side of the patient in an airborne intensive care unit with a highly specialized medical equipment. So Town of Sylvan Lake, we do have a request for you. I believe previously we requested $2 per capita. And so partnership is very important to us at STARS. And the opportunity to keep your council well informed, to bring you mission statistics, information for the area, but also share new innovations that are always popping up at STARS, new happenings, and share about our VIPs, very important patients. We do operate 24/7, and in this area, you are served by 2 STARS bases, Calgary and Edmonton. A life is saved every day, and it's partnership that continues to make it possible. So we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you so much. Council, do we have any questions? Great timing.
Woo! I made it.
I do have one. It was a couple of slides back. When you showed the statistics for the area, there was a pretty sudden decrease after 2023, and it looked like across the board. Now, it's only a couple of years, so I'm not sure that that's much of a statistically valid number, but was there a shift in the way that the services were operated after 2023 that caused that decline kind of across the board?
It is an interesting observation, and I don't believe that anything changed on our end to show that there was less missions. So, you know, we do have the 3 bases, so we respond based on the most critical patient. So I'm not sure why that would have decreased.
That's fair. It's a great trend. I mean, we'd love to see less need. Unfortunately, that means healthier residents. Thank you.
That's for sure. Even when, you know, you don't want to use STARS, you just want to know it's there when you need it.
Absolutely. Council, do we have any other questions? No, I'll thank you very much for your presentation then.
Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much.
Thank you. All right. Next up, Council will move into business item 7A, the Safe and Inclusive Access Bylaw. Ms. Cooper-Abel, you weren't who I was expecting, but this tracks. Thank you. Ms. Calicut, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm here to present second and possibly third reading of the Safe and Inclusive Access Bylaw. So currently, this bylaw basically currently exists, and we're looking to make a few changes to it. So based off council's feedback at the last council meeting that this was presented, it would continue to have the space for the protesting, and we're adding in or proposing that we add in no petitioning or solicitation for the 25 meters, and making the change as well to the protesting piece from 50 meters to 25 meters. Also adding in that nothing, so no protesting, soliciting, or petitioning would be permitted within special events. So current practice is that special events needs to include everything that's part of a special event package. So for example, it could be anything from children's activities, movies in the parks, those types of things. So for the town special events, there's permitting that's in place. The bylaw does not address anything that is occurring in private property. So we have made the adjustments on the maps, as you'll see as part of the draft bylaw, moving from the 50 meters to the 25 meters. And so that 25 meters is just that buffer area between the doorways, so the main entrances of the facilities. So in the event, maybe a small little piece that's showing on the map is a private property, this does not include anything that's happening. It's just really hard to show that on the map space. So a couple things that I do want to bring to council's attention. Specifically at the municipal government building, that 25 meters does extend a little bit into the playground, into the gazebo space. We do believe that 25 meters just covered the library space nicely from the doorways. It does not go past the sidewalk, for example. At the Nexor Center and the Wellness and Community Connections building, that 25 meters does extend to the sidewalk spaces and does allow good flow through to those buildings. The Municipal Operations Building is included in this. It's really not a highly sought-after facility to have any of those types of activities, but it is a municipal facility, so it is added in there, as well as the municipal enforcement and fire hall considerations, considering those are both very busy spaces, and things like fire trucks and police vehicles or municipal enforcement vehicles do need to get through rather quickly. So with that, I'll turn it over to council. So if there are any questions, I am happy to answer them. Should council choose not to pass second or third reading of the bylaw, we still do have our current copy of the bylaw in place. Just be aware that it does include the 50-meter buffer for the facilities for the petitioning and the soliciting.
Thank you. Councillor Cindy, was that a question to start?
Yeah, just one question regarding parking lots in general. Do we have, excuse me, do we have other bylaws that would, in effect, apply to the parking lots if we had a situation where we had very active protest and there was great difficulty in moving through a parking lot, for instance? Do we have in our community standards bylaw and a way to approach that?
So currently, if there's would be protesting, for example, or anything like that happening outside of that 25 meters, no, there would not be a way to address that.
Okay.
Can I'll jump in and then go to Councillor Iwanicki. More specifically, the fire hall, none of the exits that the fire trucks would need to take were included in that. There's nothing that says our emergency vehicles couldn't receive access through there. That was great. Good delegation. Otherwise, I certainly would be interested in including a buffer from the doors where the fire trucks would exit.
Through the chair, I thought it was very clear to Monique, but apparently not. No. There's actually a federal law that prohibits the blocking of any emergency access for buildings or areas such as the fire hall or the enforcement department detachment.
Great, thank you. Councillor Iwanicki.
I'm just curious about the definition for petitioning or solicitation. I'm just thinking, is there a risk in the way we have it set up that events like Fun Fest or Flannel and Feast or what have you may unintentionally exclude some of the people who come and like try and get people to sign up for things or even buy some of their products?
Through the chair to Councillor Iwanicki. So no, that is actually as part of the bylaw. I can't find it right now, but that would be a special event. And so in events, there are things that can be accepted. So when a group is, for example, at the Fun Fest, the intent of that is to sign up for programs and services and things like that. So part of that would be included in that event or that program, and so that is permitted. One of the uses that we comment on in here specifically is, for example, if we are doing Culinart, which is a fun food activity, and we have a food drive, for example, they're still collecting donations or soliciting for things in that regard, that is permitted. Same things such as for the Christmas Bureau or things like that, those specific activities are permitted with permission.
Councillor Amaniki, a follow-up?
Yeah, so if I'm hearing you correctly, then, you know, a town-run program or activity, there's, you don't have to point me to the specific spot, but somewhere in here, there's an exclusion that says, notwithstanding that sentence, you can still do it in these particular types of events.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions, Council? All right, seeing none, would someone like to put second reading? Councillor Mearns?
I make a motion that council approve second reading of bylaw number 1954-2026 as presented.
Great. Any debate, discussion? Councillor Amaniki?
I was hoping to propose an amendment to the motion, just to rename the bylaw, because I don't think it really says what it's supposed to do. I was going to propose something along the lines of the use of public spaces bylaw, something like that. I'm not wedded to any specific idea, but I think we're doing a disservice to what the bylaw is supposed to be about with the way it's currently named.
Councillor Bain?
You stole my thunder. That's exactly what my comment was going to be about. Oh, shut up. So
Language around the council table, Councillor Payne?
what was that?
Language.
It's not his turn. It's not his turn. No, I was actually confused when I first read this a month ago, I guess, because the language of the title is language that's used in other capacities. So, like, I never understood why it wasn't just called the Municipal Spaces Solicitation, Vetting, and Petitioning Bylaw, which is exactly what it's about. So, I would love to see it changed, so it makes sense. So then if you're searching for it, it actually makes sense.
I'll add in, when we first saw this, and I thought we were talking about inclusive programming for kids with disabilities, I got really excited and I had all kinds of great ideas. And then when I read it, none of my ideas applied to this. So I absolutely agree that be open to that. I guess I'd ask the question of administration. Is that something that had been considered? Are there other options? And is there any consistent naming that's used in other communities? I'm not sure that you'd know that right now, but just in case you've got a great one, love to hear it.
Yes, so actually in the first reading of the bylaw, I had made a few notes. So the City of Fort Saskatchewan has use of city common spaces. City of Leduc has petition in city-owned facilities. Okotoks has community facilities access. And Okotoks also has an open spaces and recreation facilities bylaw. City of Lethbridge has a public places bylaw. City of Camrose has a use of city common spaces. City of Grand Prairie has an outdoor event permit bylaw. City of St. Albert has an event policy, and the City of Edmonton has a public spaces bylaw. So although administration has not considered changing the title of the bylaw, if that's something council wishes to do, that's certainly something that we can do.
I hear there's appetite. Councillor Mearns?
Can we hear Councillor Iwaniki's suggestion one more time?
Yes.
Again, not wedded to this, but it was use of public spaces bylaw. It could be public facilities, might be a better fit, I think, but.
Councillor Bain?
Instead of public, can we say municipal? Use of municipal spaces bylaw? Because public spaces imply some other spaces as well, so.
And I would be happy that is a friendly amendment to my amendment.
I think it's different enough. We probably should vote on that just to make sure that we've got that clear. But would you like to put forward that in a motion?
I don't remember what you worded. I'm going to butcher it. Yeah, so I would propose an amendment to the proposed bylaw, second reading, to state, to rename the bylaw to the use of municipal spaces bylaw.
Great. We've got that motion on the floor. Do we have any concerns with that? Now that we've read the list, just making sure we're not.
No, we do not.
Great. We have a motion on the floor. Do we want to have any further comment or debate on that? Great. I'll call the question on that name change that is proposed. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. let that be the new name. Would anyone be, oh, no, we still have second reading on the floor. Great. Any other, I was just going right ahead to third there. Any other comment within our debate of second reading? Great. We have that motion already on the floor. All those in favor and opposed, and that is carried. Would someone like to make a motion for third reading of the use of municipal spaces bylaw? Councillor Payne.
I move that council approve third reading of bylaw number 1954, 2026 as amended, I guess, not as presented. As amended.
Already amended.
As amended as presented.
It was amended in second, so I think you can just do third reading.
Okay.
The amendment's already in place now.
As amended.
Great. We'll open it up for further conversation. Seeing none, Councillor Payne's motion's on the floor. All those in favor and opposed, and that is carried. Thank you, Council. All right, next we will move on down to the 2025 municipal indicators. Oh, sorry, hold that excitement. We will move on down to the request to award tender pavement patching services. That was in the consent agenda, so first I'll ask, would you like the report on it, or would you like to just go into those questions? Or would you like a presentation?
Just jump into question comment, really.
Great, let's start with question,
Yeah.
and then we'll get the motion on the floor, and then we can go to comments from there.
Yeah, one thing I was wondering about is the full cost of repairing our pavement with our pothole repairs, because I know this contract is for 2016, potentially, if approved, but we already have our crews working, and we sometimes add portions. So I was wondering how much that potentially can expand in a typical year. What kind of extra value we'll be throwing into it in total? Because that.
Through the chair, for clarity, are you asking what our total cost of pavement repair is for 2026?
Yeah, and of course we don't know until it happens, but anticipated.
Yeah, so for pothole repairs, we typically spend about $30,000 or $40,000, and that's for material, excludes labor. And for this tender on council's agenda tonight, we will spend the entire $300,000. So what we do is we work within the confines of the operating budget. So once we unseal the tender, which we did, pending council approval tonight for 2016, we'll now start adding pavement patches to spend the entire 300. So to answer your question, for potholes, for this tender, about 330, 340,000. That excludes other pavement maintenance services such as spray patching or microsurfacing or crack sealing, road marking. And I actually don't have those numbers, but to answer your question, about 40,000 for potholes, about 300,000 for this tender.
Do you have a secondary question, Councillor?
Yeah, not so much a question, then it's more about communication and.
If that's the case, then why don't we look to put a motion on the floor? Would you like to do that?
Sure. And, oh, of course, I don't have it right in front of me.
92.
Didn't flip my page yet. So I move that council awards the tender for the 2026 Roadway Pavement Patching Services Program to Border Paving Limited of Red Deer, Alberta for an amount not to exceed $300,000, excluding the GST, as presented in report AIR 1387.
Excellent. And then we'll open it up for conversation, and I'll let you start, Councillor Ostindi.
Sure. Yeah, I really want to celebrate this fact. When I think about, big money that we spend, if we were buying something for $300,000, if we were building something for $300,000, we'd be cutting a ribbon. And I had this kind of joke image of, the mayor literally cutting a ribbon on a pothole. Not very sexy to fix potholes. But that's much of our work. Most of what we do is super basic. We keep things running. And I think, I'm not suggesting this, we do this every year, but I think it's well worth having a communications profile on this work because it's significant. It's equivalent to more than 1% of our tax collection. That's how big this is. If we did 100 projects this year, we would have a list somewhere of those 100. And this is one of them. And now I know our whole budget is much bigger than just our tax collection, but it is over 1% of what we collect from our residents. And just showing them, here's one big chunk of money, $300,000 to make our roads smooth. And then just the other day, I was thinking about, man, these potholes are bad on 50th Avenue along the tracks there. And the very next day, there's our crews fixing them. And so this is a super success story, in my opinion. And I think we should profile that. Like, 2,500 square meters, that's 50 meters by 50 meters of pavement being put down on our streets, plus what's going to be added. So, these numbers are totally conservative. 20% more than last year. That's a massive job. So I think we can go further. So I'm saying about this, celebrating it, and I don't think we should play the game. I know some media have done this, report the most dangerous pothole, but in that communication, how does someone report a pothole? How does someone let us know there's a bad, there's something that needs to be repaired on their street if needed? So that's what I really want to highlight.
I love it. I'll defer to Ms. Phillips and say, if council is in agreement of some further profile to our pothole repairs, would you like a motion from council to do that? Or what is the best way to express that desire for communication?
It never hurts to give a motion because then it's very clear direction. It's not Councillor Ostindi saying, let's do communications and Jared actioning that. It's a motion of all of council, so it doesn't hurt.
So maybe to keep this clean, we can go back to any discussion on the main motion here, and then you could put a follow-up motion on the floor relating to this specifically for communications. Is that reasonable? Great. Do we have any further comment on the motion that's already on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor and opposed, that is carried unanimously. Councillor Ostindi, I know you're still writing, so feel free to think that thought through, and then if you want to take a stab at it. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Councillor.
Mr. Watson, I'm curious about the process of reporting a pothole.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And through the chair, our online concern, you just simply go to our webpage or traditional email, phone, or walk in, of course, and you select the drop-down box and you select roads and streets and you type in your story and the location, and you can choose to upload a file, including a picture, and it's delivered directly by comms to the department that's responsible. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Ostindi.
Just thinking that could be part of the messaging, right, in terms of communication. So I move that our town communications department highlight the annual pavement patching initiatives of summer 2026.
That's great. Council, do we have any comment? Great. Motion on the floor. All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. I'll also add, just as a follow-up to our conversation at FCM, another one that might be worth some additional conversation when we get there is the completion of Herder Drive. Tell you, if there ever was a neighborhood who deserves an actual ribbon once that work is complete, it certainly is one that we should be celebrating, because it's been a long road for those residents in many phases. And I think we're all excited to see the end of it, but no one more than those that live there. So. Side note. All right, we will, thank you for that appreciation, Councillor Payne. Council, I think we can get through one more before we go to recess. So come on up, Mr. McIntyre. We'll move into the 2025 municipal indicators. And while you settle in, let me start with a little praise. This report was really great. Was so excited to see it. I learned some really neat things, so looking forward to to your overview, but well done.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight we want to provide you information on Sylvan Lake's municipal indicators. This is an exercise that the province undertakes on an annual basis, and it is formed by the data we supply to them through our audited financial results, as well as other data that the province collects on municipalities. So I think we'll start on page 118, if that's okay with you. And there you can see the municipal indicator trends over the past 3 years, so 2023, 2024, and 2025. You can see some interesting trends that I'll highlight here, and you can see a more visual representation of that same data on page 121. Now, this data is brought to you by a provincial website that is a little bit tricky to navigate. It's visualizations.alberta.ca, but you have to go and find Sylvan Lake's data specifically in order to get it to bring up. It's presented both over alphabetical order for all Alberta municipalities and the year. So it wasn't something, unfortunately, that we could have provided a fancy link for you to follow. You have to go there and do the work. But we've got it represented in the data below for you. So the big news from this is not very exciting, but that is that Sylvan Lake receives a rating of no concern, which means that from the perspective of municipal affairs, they're not concerned about the operations, the finances, the data that is presented to the government by the town of Sylvan Lake. Going over to page 118, there are some reflections in the data that we can draw, and that is that we are in a strong financial position, but that is with future obligations in mind. So I wanted to pause there for a moment and say that on the calculations for the province's perspective of our debt limit, for instance, this is only a report that looks backwards, not forwards. So when you take into consideration the budget that council has passed or the 10-year capital plan that has been prepared, there are commitments made in those documents that aren't reflected in the province's reports. So again, they're looking backwards. So we have a very strong position, thankfully, and we do have debt capacity. But when we think about things like our infrastructure replacement, future town facilities, that's not yet contemplated in the province's verbiage. If that makes sense. Okay, great. So declining debt is great, but again, they're not taking into consideration our future contributions, our asset retirement and replacements, for instance. Infrastructure investment remains above benchmark. So to put that into plain language, it means that over the last several years, Sylvan Lake has done a lot of investing in public infrastructure. And lately, again, going back to page 118, you can see we go from a ratio of, or representation of 2.55 in 23, 2.49 in 2024, and 1.7 in 2025, meaning that the overall investment is moderating, but still is quite a step above what the province would see as concerning, and that would be true if we were not investing enough in our infrastructure, which means that that number would be below 1, but we're at 1.77. Infrastructure age signals long-term pressure, so this is true for every municipality. We're always going to have to take a look at our infrastructure, making sure that we're replacing it as needs arise. Another couple highlights here that I can draw for you. Governance and compliance remain strong. So I think this is a good firm pat on the back for Mr. Moore and his team in finance, making sure that we're following all the rules, we're reporting our data on time, and that we are in compliance with all of our regulatory framework. Beyond that, I think I'll open it up for council's questions. Calculating our debt limit is always fun. I've got some information in there, although the true subject matter expert is over my left shoulder again, Mr. Moore. And the definitions and terms of the council, rather of the province's data collection, are interesting as well. But overall, again, our position is good. Green, I think, if we're looking at page 121, if you were to scroll through all of the municipalities that the province collects data on, you will see that not all of them are green. Some of them do warrant concern, whether it's in the audit outcome or any one of the metrics that you see outlined there. So Sylvan Lake, in as much as we are in the bulk of the group and we have got no concern, there certainly are municipalities that don't have the same benefit of the professional staff and good decision-making that end up resulting in a no concern outcome. So this report is for council's information, and we recommend that you accept it as such. And as always, very happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you. Councillor Avaniki, a question.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. What the heck is interest in municipal office? I don't know why that's NA for 2 years and suddenly it's pi.
Okay, now the reason for that number is in the prior years, we did not have a municipal election. So I'll just read you the province's definition of that metric. And that is, so our rating of 3.14, pi, coincidentally, reflects the level of competition in municipal elections. Higher values indicate more candidates per position, suggesting greater community interest and engagement. So that would have been, we have 7 positions available for election, and we had a certain number of people who applied as candidates for those positions, meaning that we get an overall ratio of 3.14. It also leads to, you know, the other side of that coin is there are municipalities in which all of their council is acclaimed because there were no people interested in running for the position. So they would have a flat ratio. In some rare cases in Alberta municipalities, when the nomination period is closed for an election, there are still not enough people to fill a whole council. So they would have to redraw or extend their nomination period and select new candidates. In Sylvan Lake, as you would have all experienced last October, we did not have that problem.
Additional questions, Council?
So just to clarify Sean's
Kane.
answer, that's a ratio of 3.14 to 1? 3.14 per position?
Yeah, I think, and you're better at math than myself, Councillor, although neither of us are mathematicians, but more or less there were 3 times as many applicants as there were positions.
Councillor Cindy had a question.
22/7, the approximation of pi, 3.14. That's how many candidates.
It was exciting to see that it turned out to be pi.
Yeah, I should say, now that I have a microphone, 22/7, 3.14, the approximation of pi. Current ratio, that's the one I was wondering, what does the current ratio mean? It's about the 4th, 5th one down. It says strengthening, so it's a positive, I know that, but I just wondered what were they measuring in that category?
So the province definition of current ratio, so ours is 2.77, as you pointed out. This measures the municipality's ability to meet short-term financial obligations by comparing current assets to current liabilities. Okay. So a ratio above 1 indicates sufficient short-term financial capacity.
It's kind of like a cash flow indicator. Yeah. Okay.
I'll look over my shoulder to Mr. Moore for a nod on that. Okay, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councillor Bilodeau.
Looking at the no concern, the green, curious about our track record. So we have 2020 up to 25. Is this a common no concern return?
Thankfully, in the town of Sylvan Lake, yes. We are strongly in the no concern category. And when you think about what municipal affairs is interested in, there are municipalities in Alberta who have, for instance, a declining population or a very small population and a large infrastructure project that could put their finances in danger. There have also been interventions that municipal affairs has had to undertake for other municipalities for governance issues. And Sylvan Lake, thankfully, we haven't been in trouble in any of those areas, which leads to our outcome of no concern.
And I'll say, I didn't specifically look at this year, but at least last year when I did a deep dive, often the communities that fell into that concern category were very, very small population of hundreds. So managing that infrastructure on that really small tax base seemed to be a real challenge. And then many of other reasons that landed municipalities in there, but.
And, you know, and while we're adding information to that, I can read the province's definition as well, which is, no concern indicates whether the municipal auditor identified any serious financial issues. A result of no concern means no significant risks or concerns were identified in the audited financial statements.
Excellent. Any additional questions, council? Got a motion to accept for information. Would anyone like to put that forward? Councillor Iwanicki. That was close, though.
Yeah. I move that council receive the 2025 Municipal Indicators Report for information in Report AIR 1423.
Excellent. Final opportunity for comment. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, we're just over an hour, so let's take a 10-minute recess and we will, let's make it 9 minutes. We'll come back at 5:15. Thank you. depending on what clock you look like, it's 5:16 or it's 5:14. But let's come back from recess and we'll go into the pilot project golf carts bylaw. Mr. Lebsack, welcome.
Your Worship and Council, I will just do a quick brief on the background and discussion portion here because we're all fairly familiar with it. But as we know, we passed a golf cart pilot project bylaw as part of the provincial regulation that only allowed for personal use of golf carts. Once that was approved, on your behalf, the town of Sylvan Lake sent off a letter to the minister requesting that it be expanded to commercial use. And it has been approved just last week. And so now there is a permit regulation allowed in there for commercial use of golf carts. One part I would like to point out specifically for commercial use though, it is not for what we would call ride share. Otherwise that falls under the vehicle for hire bylaw, which includes many different requirements which golf carts would not meet in terms of vehicles, probably driver's licenses. People aren't going to go out and get class 4s and things like that just to drive a golf cart for that. So the commercial use of golf carts as per our bylaw does not include vehicle for hire at all or ride share services, just to be clear on that. The other portion that I would suggest or that I need to clarify before we go is that once this is approved by council, there is still another approval step with the minister again. So any change to the bylaw, whether it's an amendment to what we currently have, whether it's adding commercial use, or whether it's changing a location where they'd be allowed, always has to go back to the minister for final approval. So as you can see in here, we've added two things to this bylaw. We have included the commercial use of golf carts in the town's pilot project. We are also we're also recommending a reduction in the speed limit on Memorial Trail from, I know I had it here, but I don't have it, Lakeway Boulevard, yep, east to Pogattle Park, which would then allow the golf carts to travel along Memorial Trail to Pogattle Park. The reason we've done it or are recommending it this way is that golf carts specifically as part of the provincial pilot project are not allowed on trails. So we could not, my understanding just from a verbal conversation, we could not even recommend that, oh yeah, this one trail on our pathway system is okay for us because the pilot project is specifically making golf carts part of the vehicle portion of the Traffic Safety Act, which would not be allowed on trails, regardless of what we do within our bylaw. So that's my understanding through a verbal discussion with the office up there in Edmonton. So those are the two changes that we're recommending here as part of this amended bylaw. And thankfully the amended bylaw is a short one and very easy to read on the one pager. So I will just open it up to questions from council there.
Question for clarification around the vehicle for hire and what transitions that. I wasn't clear. Would a shuttle from a business to another business in town, would that fall within permitted under this? Or would that follow under the vehicle for hire? I'm just unclear about what that threshold is.
Through the chair. So yes, as long as they're not openly exchanging money in exchange for that specific ride service.
Okay.
So again, if there's an extra charge as part of your, we'll just call it a hotel booking, to utilize the service, that's fine, but you can't charge specifically for that purpose of, I want to go from, I'm just going to go pick you up at point A and take you to point B.
Excellent. Thank you for that clarity. Any additional questions? Councillor Ostindi.
Yeah, two questions. One is about the folks that would have such a license, a commercial license to provide this type of service. Are we anticipating or do we know that they would all be in what I call or we call the paid parking zones? And the reason I ask the question is I'm concerned about if you know, I'm pretty sure we can't do it on a residential street, but, you know, I'm going to clog up the street parking with my fleet of commercial vehicles. That's where this question's coming from. In a paid parking zone, you can only park there for 2 hours. So I'm asking the question with that background interest.
Through the chair, currently there are no restrictions on that at all. So it could be a commercial area, it could be downtown business area, it could be residential area. There's no restrictions at all.
Okay. I'll raise a concern after then. The other one is a question of looking at the map on 47th. I'm just thinking about someone with a good eye and a good graphics program. 47th Avenue is a solid red, and it doesn't show the fact that we cross it, because the streets that cross it, you can drive with your golf cart and you can pass over that street onto the next portion of it. So what I want to suggest is, are we able to adjust that map without, you know, it doesn't need an amendment, I believe, so that the green crossings, in other words, when you're on, I think that would be 46th Street for an example, coming up by the lodge, near the lodge, it's just green straight across. In other words, the green is continuous rather than the red being continuous. And that would indicate it's not a crossing that it's a crossing you're allowed, an intersection you're allowed to travel north-south on, but you're definitely not allowed to turn right or left and go on to 47th. That's my question.
Mr. Lipsack.
Yep, through the chair. Certainly we could adjust the map to do that. Something that I hadn't thought of, what we had done before with the crossings is the large white circles with, and that obviously didn't fit all down 47th, but we could just extend the green lines across, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was thinking the same, that big white mark, yeah.
Councillor Awaniki.
This isn't a question for right now, it's more kind of future thinking. Just because I did have someone, complain to me is a bit strong, but mentioned to me that Greyhawk is sort of landlocked, that new community over there. I am not proposing reducing the speed limit on that road. I want to be very clear on this, but is there a way in the future where we can look at having like a dedicated, almost like a bike lane, but for golf carts? I'm just envisioning like even something like 47th you could have, or over there, like, so they could still be used on a portion of the road without having to, mess with the speed limits everywhere.
Yeah, through the chair, I guess the quick answer is yes, we are working on a couple of different options for over in that area right at the moment. Yes, there will be an option in the future.
Councillor Cindy, another question.
Not so much a question, just thinking the Catholic Church, once it's built, will have a natural connector to Willow Springs. Yeah.
Any additional questions? Would someone like to put forward a motion? Councillor Martins, thank you.
Make a motion that council approves first reading of pilot project golf carts bylaw 1957-2026 as presented in report AIR 1427.
Excellent. We'll open it up for comment.
I know that my objection is going to fall on deaf ears, but I still think this is ridiculous. Putting golf carts on the street. I've seen golf carts on the street. They go 10 kilometers an hour slower, if not more, than the traffic that's adjacent to them. I still think it's a horrible idea.
Additional comments? Councillor Cindy, did you have?
I'm just thinking about an amendment thought regarding golf carts being parked on the commercial owner's land when not in use. I'm just thinking about how that, because I don't want someone to have 4 golf carts and parking them on a street that needs the parking. But when they're under use, they will be parked and should be parked in parking spots, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just thinking about that they be parked on the commercial owner's property when not in use. That's something to think about.
I'm just curious if that's needed in that if they're in a paid parking spot, they'd be paying for parking. So yeah. It's in my mind, then it would be unlikely they would actually park there because on their own property they wouldn't be. And if they were, then they're still paying for the spot that they're taking.
Yeah.
Just a thought around it, but
And then a
By all
reflection.
means.
If I
Yeah.
could just jump in and add, though, oh, this is an interesting, another additional thought. So having a resident plate, I don't pay for parking. So I don't know that they would be paying for parking, and I'm not sure how that works on a commercial front, if it's approved by a business.
So I would just add to that, Your Worship. So I believe if we're worried about them sitting for a long time taking up parking spots, then they would fall under the same category as every other vehicle that's parked for over 72 hours. That would be about the current conditions that we have within a bylaw right now, is they would fall, as they're being designated as vehicles, they would fall within that condition within our current bylaws. That would be about the extent of what we have currently, just for clarification.
So then I guess I'll ask Councillor Cindy, is there an amendment you're interested in making? Or another option I'd put forward is, I see the challenge that could be presented from this, but I think a bit more thought around it could be okay. And I anticipate we will be making a change in the off-season and doing a bit of a review on this program. Is that something that could be captured then, or should we be trying to do some wordsmithing now? And I'll leave that up to you.
My gut feeling is it could be captured then, despite the fact that I have this perfect wording. No, because that just doesn't happen, as we know. But I do still have that concern. That's why I asked that question first about, where could these commercial vehicles appear? And we have bylaws on parking ratios for businesses, and then suddenly we're creating a new use that creates this much higher need for vehicle parking spaces if they end up on public roadways. So predicting that we're going to have a very low upswing on this particular amendment right now over this summer, likely only going to predict one instance with a very small fleet. I'm not concerned that it goes overboard, but I don't want to see someone just anywhere in town where there's not paid parking especially, and there's no incentive to move it every 72 hours. Plus, if someone leaves and comes back and parks it there again, it has been moved. And so it's more about the impact on the direct neighborhood of a commercial fleet, even if it's just 3. It's suddenly we've created an extra pressure on and tension between neighbors. So but I think it can be captured when we reflect in the fall.
Council, any additional feedback on that to give some direction? Seeing none, I will leave it up to you, Councillor Ostindi, whether you do. Okay. What I would ask, if you have great wording prepared, potentially after this meeting, if you could email that in, and then it's something that could be captured and make sure that we include that back exactly. That'd be great. Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councillor Mearns. Any further discussion? All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Would someone be interested in going forward with second reading? Councillor Bilodeau.
And that council approves second reading of pilot project golf carts bylaw 1957-2026 as presented in report ARI 1427.
We'll open it up again for any discussion, council. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor and opposed, and that is carried. Now we do need a motion to carry on for consent to proceed to third reading. Is it unanimous or 2/3, Ms. Phillips?
You need unanimous consent to go 3 readings. And I can just say, this just means you're giving, if you choose to, you're giving consent to go forward with the third reading, which you could still vote against, but otherwise it'll have to go to the next meeting. And that's only when you do all 3 readings in one meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, would someone like to put forward Councillor Ostindi?
I move that council grant consent to proceed to third reading to pilot project golf carts bylaw 1957-2026 as presented in report AIR 1427.
Excellent. We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Payne. I bet that hurt a little. Would someone like to put forward that motion for third reading? Councillor Iwanicki.
That council approves third reading of pilot project golf carts bylaw 1957-2026 as presented in report AIR 1427.
Excellent. Final opportunity for comment. Great. We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Thank you, council. I will note that it's very unusual that we would move forward with all three of those readings. It is incredibly tough when we're dealing with these time-sensitive issues, but I will also comment, this has been a bit of a groundbreaking process. I think when the Ministry of Transportation put forward this pilot project, they didn't necessarily anticipate that Sylvan Lake would be one, and they certainly hadn't contemplated commercial use within it. So although it has felt like it's taken a while to get here, this really is essentially light speed that this has happened. And I know the Minister's office has really done some extra work to get this in front of Cabinet sooner than anything would traditionally come forward. So once, my understanding is this will go back to them for final approval. Once that is completed, if you could please let council know, I do think that we should sign and send a letter stating our thanks for their work towards the process and to show our appreciation for that. All right, next we will move along to correspondence and information items. Council, we have a number before us. Do we have any questions on those? Councillor Stindy.
I just have a question about regrets, with regrets and absent, and just being late. So for instance, last meeting I walked in 1 minute late, and it's so recorded that I walked in 1 minute late, and it didn't say that I had regrets. And then in other minutes, we say with regrets that someone's absent, but I don't know if we've actually received their regrets. So I think we should check to see what is proper protocol. And I notice Parkland also uses that practice of with regrets and all that. I would prefer just to use absent, late, present, just to state it as a fact. And I hope people know that if I'm ever absent or late, it's with regrets.
Thank you. Any additional items under our information items? Seeing none, we'll move to council request for information updates, and I'll just provide the reminder. Notice of motion, of course, is for anything of a bit longer nature, but we can use this category when we have a short administrative request that requires very low workload questions, and I do have one, so I wanted to introduce why that was different as well. Council, do we have any other items in there? Okay. I do have a request for information. I'm wondering if council could be circulated the email council of days past would have received around the private lot enforcement. There was a lot of little details, and I don't recall any of them around the challenges. I think it was actually a report that came to one of our committees, Community Services, Tourism, Economic Development, one of those, but I'd love if that information, certainly not asking for new information on the topic, but if it could be recirculated just so I could refresh myself. As we come upon summer, we do have that request from Mr. Flanagan, but also I expect it from other business owners, and my memory is blank, so thank you. Is that reasonable within that category?
That is reasonable, yes. Sure. Readily available information.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Next, we'll move in. Is any others? Sorry. Seeing none, we'll move into Councillor Mearns. You have an emergent notice of motion.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that council approve a motion regarding paid parking to proceed without notice.
Excellent. So to give a bit of a explanation on this, of course, our always preferred process is through the notice of motion process. That allows council to prepare for it, but we do always have the opportunity, if something is emergent, being time sensitive, to bring it forward in this matter. To do so, it gets a high-level introduction, just as Councillor Mearns gave, and then council needs to vote with 2/3 support for him to even introduce the motion. What I will say is voting yes or no on the willingness to let Councillor Mearns speak to what his motion is not support for the motion, because we don't have any of the background on what that is at this point. So keep that in mind. So with that, he does have a motion to proceed, and I'll ask council, do we support allowing him to proceed with that notice of motion? All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Councillor Mearns, the floor is yours.
Okay, first time doing this, so I'll give it a shot. So
I think it's all of our first time, actually. I'm not
yeah,
sure we've ever done an emergent notice of motion.
So what I'm bringing forward is asking administration to bring back some option to us within our paid parking. Financial implications, maybe an option to reduce full day paid parking rate on lakefront parking lots, options to have separate weekday rates. And where this is stemming from is we've heard from a lot of public, a lot of businesses. I will say I was fully in favor of the $50 rate, and this is specifically to the $50 parking rate in our parking lots. Fully in favor of that as a full day rate. But I think we've missed the mark, and something I've always said, let's fail fast. Let's see if we can make some exceptions. We all received an email regarding a business in town where, it's potentially affected him. People have already said they won't attend because of the price to his business. Tourism Development Committee, I met with them 2 weeks ago. Very kind group, but they're very stern in their comments about how it's already affected their business. One restaurant owner said, the comment sitting at the table to some of his staff was, I just spent $50 in the parking lot and I'm out for a meal, blah, blah, blah. There's other options, I get that. We've also heard from, maybe it's a mom or a dad coming from Red Deer for a couple hours and to be at the park and to unload. So I think there's a lot of information new information we have that we didn't have originally. And so my ask and my motion will be to ask administration to bring information back to us on some options in the parking lots specifically, so Lakefront Park and Centennial Park, and to see what that looks like. If there's a reduced weekday rate, Monday to Thursday, whatever the options could be, that we could explore that, and that they could bring that back to us in a timely manner so that we could get it in effect for the season that's upon us. So,
Up to comment on that request. Councillor Johannesson.
Yeah, I think Councillor Mearns is correct. We've definitely heard a lot of pushback on the parking, which was, in my mind, 100% expected. I mean, nobody likes to pay more for anything. My golf membership went up this year too, and I was grumpy about it, but nobody cared, so still paid it. I think this is probably a little too fast. I would prefer to see us follow through with this and reassess for next year, but I'm also not against administration coming back with ideas. I had mentioned offhand to Ms. Phillips and Mayor Hansen, I think on like day one of my orientation, that I thought a nice idea would be to talk to restaurants. This is probably too late now, but for next year, talk to restaurants, businesses, see who would come on board with a program where if you went to our parking lot and you paid the $50 a day, that you'd get a coupon for $10 off $30 order or something like that at a restaurant, which would make parking actually $40. It would push people into restaurants, and then restaurants would send that bill to us, and we'd still collect the $40 a day and then pay those restaurants the $10. So the restaurants wouldn't be losing out on anything. I think that would be a really neat idea. Again, logistically now it's probably a little too late, but I'm okay with the $50 a day in that main lot. I think it's a privilege. I've said before, I think $50 a day to bring a family of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is as cheap as you're going to get for anything, and I think that's the value our beach deserves. But I'm also not against. I would love to see an hourly option in our main lots. I know we had talked about it, and they said it was kind of impossible. I have to imagine with the technology we have that we can make that for people that do come from Red Deer and park in the main lot and are in there for a couple hours. Maybe it's a 2-hour minimum, $20, something like that. So I'm not opposed to hearing that, but I'm also happy with the way that it is right now as well.
Councillor Bain.
My understanding is that this motion is just to bring back a report examining that even if we wanted to change, we legally couldn't for 6 months after a bylaw is passed, if I'm correct on that. I'm not correct on that? Because I thought once it's passed, once a bylaw is passed, you can't revisit that bylaw for a period of time.
Ms. Phillips.
As long as there's 3 more readings. We also, this one's technically not in a bylaw at this point, it's through a motion, but we will be building it into a bylaw. But as long as you, just like the golf cart one, we just made an amendment even though it was just passed. So normally, a motion you can't change within 6 months, but without that support of majority of council typically, so like that 2/3 vote for a motion, but so that might be a consideration on this one because it did come in as more as a form of a motion. But bylaws, it's just 3 readings, it's just starting it over again. Same with policies. I'll double check the wording in our procedure bylaw because I'm trying to remember exactly what's written in there, but we'll make sure we're adhering to that, so.
Sure, Councillor Stindy.
I can support this motion for sure. In the considerations that administration does, it's, talks about weekends and weekdays, and Councillor Mearns also described the idea of, potentially a different combination. I want the combination of weekends and stat holidays to be a serious consideration in terms of what implications if we changed any. And Councillor Johannesson also mentioned the idea of the partial day parking in effect, call it the hourly rate in those core lots that we're talking about. And I have to say, I spent about, although it was only a 10-minute published interview, I spent about a good 20 minutes defending our position with CBC. So interesting discussion because, and also, it made me reflect a lot on our job as councillors that when we make a decision, even though I didn't agree with a certain number, I'm ready to defend it because we agreed as a group. And that wasn't totally easy for me, but I did. And it's very important for all of us to stand behind each other when we make these compromises.
Thank you, and thank you for doing that, incoming Deputy Mayor. I want to add one other layer. I support having further conversation around this. I like what I've heard about hourly, talking about if there's options around Monday to Thursday. A couple things to add to it. In the fall, I'd love to add this part. I'd like some clarity around the annual pass. We had the question around tonight. I know it exists, but I'm not exactly clear. Does an annual pass give you 4 license plates, like a resident? Is it for year round? I think I know the answers to this. Sure, Mr. Levsack. Or when this comes back, if you know the answer at the top of your head, I'm happy to have that then. One pass, wonderful, for the full year. And does that allow you to park in the resident-only spaces? Yes, okay. My other portion I would like to bring back as part of this discussion was something brought up by the clinic downtown. In our current bylaw, we have made because we've made this program year-round, which I still support, we've got 2 different seasonal rates. But what I missed as we were talking about this initially is that the resident-only streets are now year-round resident-only. Meaning, very real example, we have a doctor's office downtown. They understand the program in the summer, but in February, their out-of-town patients cannot park on the street in front of their clinic because it's still resident-only year-round. And I do think that might have been an oversight, and maybe that resident-only zone should have remained just with the summer instead of year-round. I don't see a lot of complaints from residents down there that they can't have or that they are challenged with parking on their street the rest of the year. So especially with where there is businesses down there, I think that makes absolute sense to talk about. Council, any other comments? Councillor Bilodeau.
I just want to say that I also support Tim's motion. I'd like us to look specifically the 2 that are really, I feel that the need is the weekday versus weekend stat. Thinking about stats, we know that we get the majority of people, our big booms are over stat weekends if the weather's good. And really looking at that full day rate in those 2 parking lots. I know I was a little, one of those people thinking the premium rate for premium parking, great. I didn't quite see that as a one-time $50 fee in a premium place and not having another option. And I don't know if we're able to break that down by the hour, but at least maybe a half. And I know we can do more. If we can do it in other zones, we can break it down. It might just be making that decision. I still agree it's premium parking, so if we are gonna break it down by the hour, maybe it needs to be a bigger number by the hour compared to the on-street parking, the stuff that's further away. But I definitely think we need an option for at least a half day so that you have, you can have 2 rounds of people and essentially be making $100 a day per parking spot. I'm just, my concern is in those premium locations that we're turning away people. I'm not gonna say it's just tourists, it's the users around the lake as well, if they're not getting the parking pass that they're, we've just been a little bit too aggressive. And I like that we're immediately talking about it and talking about pivoting because we need to.
Right, seeing no further hands, we have a motion for this to come back. Ms. Phillips, can I ask, what is a reasonable time frame that council could have this information back, knowing it's essentially summertime in Sylvan Lake as soon as Mother Nature agrees?
Sorry, do we actually have the motion? I think he talked around it, but I don't know if he actually, I don't know if
Great, let's make that motion just to be officially official. Councilor Burns, go ahead, thank you.
Yeah, I make a motion that administration bring forward options including financial implications to reduce the full day paid parking rate in our lakefront parking lots, as well as options to have separate weekday rates.
Back to that question, what is a reasonable time frame? And then I'll go to
Mr.
Councilor
Lebsack
Payne.
coming up, I will defer to him.
Sure. Just go to him and then you.
Can I just add that Monique whispered she has my back now as I walked up here, so did you want to come up and help me out here? No? Okay. Your Worship, I'm just checking a calendar here. And if we want to discuss this at a G&P meeting and then bring it to a council meeting and then get it in place in time for the summer, it'll have to be next week and then the week after. And then probably the week after that.
Is that reasonable to have that discussion next week?
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll make it happen.
We'll
make it happen.
I felt your pain in that answer, but I appreciate that you gave it. Councillor Payne.
Tim, I think your motion's too restrictive.
I was going to just, I could add at the end, plus.
Yeah, I think all you need to do is take a reduce out and make it review. Because the possibilities that Holly pointed out as well are also on the table for discussion. But the way you've worded your motion is you've eliminated that possibility for discussion with the motion.
So I will replace reduce with review.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Council, any further comments around that? We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor and opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. Next, we'll move into Councillor Iwanicki. Another emergent motion, so same process. Thanks for paving the way, Councillor Martins.
Yeah, so my emergent motion is that council approve, I'm not doing the motion, just the initial part. Yeah. That council approve a motion regarding the Youth Spark Committee and awards ceremony tomorrow to proceed without notice.
All right, same question, council. We do need 2/3 majority to allow Councillor Iwanicki to introduce his motion. So motion's on the floor. All those in favor and opposed, and that is carried. You have the floor.
So my motion, sorry, I'm just opening it up here. My motion is that Councillor Teach Johansson is removed from his position on the Youth Spark Committee and another councillor is appointed to present the awards in his place. Now, if I can just kind of open here. So the Youth Spark Awards is this council's opportunity to recognize and celebrate the amazing youth in our community. There's only one councillor that's actually appointed to this committee, and that's Councillor Johansson. On May 8th, administration sent him a list of nominations. Administration told him that his votes for the winner were due by May 20th, so about 2 weeks later, and must be submitted by email. Councillor Johansson never submitted his votes for the winners. This disregard for his responsibilities to the committee, and much more importantly to the kids who are nominated, is inexcusable. Having him represent council at the awards ceremony tomorrow to hand out the awards to these kids would be frankly insulting to them and their families. Unfortunately, this is not the first time that Councillor Johansson has shirked his responsibilities to the committees, and I think we need to send a clear message that the repeated failure to participate or attend in functions or events or committees is unacceptable. Worst of all, this is from behavior from the councillor who campaigned on being an advocate for youth issues. I'm frankly stunned that he couldn't find the time to review the nominations and vote for these kids. I'll stress, though, these attendance and participation issues have nothing to do with disagreements over policy. The motion is entirely about attendance and a lack of participation. Everyone here has lives. Most of us have full-time jobs. We all sacrifice these parts of our jobs and our lives to serve the town. We all make time to fulfill our duty in various ways. But we must demand better from Councillor Johansson, as this lack of participation doesn't go unnoticed and it impacts our ability to govern. Case in point, this past Monday, not yesterday, but the week previously, Councillor Johansson missed a different committee meeting he was scheduled to attend. To be fair to him, it was on a day he was scheduled for holiday, and that's fine. That said, administration emailed him before he left and asked to confirm if he had made arrangements for an alternate to attend in his absence. He confirmed he hadn't yet and said he would deal with it.
Point of order. What is going, like, first of all, that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. Second of all, when you brought up a motion before, we didn't discuss it, and now you're just going on a tirade about, you even talked to me about this? You put this forward just this morning, or just when we got here. So your internal bias towards me is disgusting, and you've used a lot of strong, roll your eyes all you want, you've used a lot of strong words. You invited your buddy Bedford to come show up just for this time, which is pretty crazy. So, you know, I get a lot of emails. I missed that. It wasn't intentional. I voted on something else earlier about mayor for a day, but your pathetic behavior towards me through this entire campaign, and now you're just out here trying to make a show because you got embarrassed because 60,000 people watched you use the race card, is despicable. So this is ridiculous. I was not prepared for this. I was not prepared to have this motion forward. When you brought a motion forward before and people showed up, you said we don't discuss motions that night. It's 2 weeks later. I reject this in its entirety. We haven't had a single Spark committee meeting yet, and you're bringing up other committee meetings which have nothing to do with this. So quite frankly, it's ridiculous.
We do have a motion on the floor, so I will ask that we comment and we will vote on that. Is there any additional comments that we'd like to make on that? Councillor Payne.
You know, I'd just like to know the detail about the Spark. Like, this is about the Spark Awards. So what was the situation with the Spark Awards? I'd rather hear from Councillor Johansson, to be honest. Like, give him an opportunity to defend the situation.
Yeah, sure. It was just I didn't see that email. I get a lot of emails. I have a lot of things going on. I talk to a lot of people, and I missed it. And that's completely my fault. But to have you decide to bring a notice of motion with no notice, no speaking to me, not a single word about this, and then invite your buddy to come watch it is completely unacceptable. And it's not how you deal with things. You want to call me out here without giving me any sort of notice. So yeah, I missed that. I haven't had a single email with the Spark Awards, and I'm not even gonna be there tomorrow, because I can't. And that's already on the thing. But the proper and respectful thing for you to do, Joe, is to talk to me first without trying to bring and make a public spectacle about it. Because if you want to play those games, we can play those games. And it's not going to go well for you. So I would suggest that you maybe talk to me next time before trying to create some show. And now I know that you two are speaking to each other, which is great. Keep your mouth shut, which is great. And I already knew that, but that was good. So me missing one thing when I'm out here doing a million other things with council and doing my job, and you trying to bring this forward is nothing more than a attempt to try to attack and embarrass me, which isn't going to work. So yeah, I missed voting on an email. Your words are about me are ridiculous, disrespectful, and that's not how you be a man. But you're a coward, so you have to do this in front, and you can't actually do it.
Let's keep it to the situation right now with the Spark Awards. So the intention, you know, from what Councillor Johannes has just said, there was no intention to attend the meeting, which is appropriate. Is there a necessity to remove from a committee that doesn't exist after today?
I just want to correct some misinformation. We received an email that the packages were coming on April 29th. We were provided the packages on May 8th, and they were due on May 20th. So we had essentially a month of time with multiple emails, along with a physical package left in our mailboxes here. So this very much was an item that wasn't just one email that was slipped by. And I will say, council is the place that we assign and change committees, and we have seen us do that throughout this year. It's done at our organizational meeting. We really don't have another opportunity to do that in any other way other than making the change in this committee. So it's tough. We are all assigned a number of committees. I acknowledge that this job is huge and that the emails are plentiful, but part of our role on council is to keep up on those. And if we do need to make a shift, I would support assigning someone else. That is the key part of this committee, but that committee is also called as needed, and I don't know what that workload looks like, and if there likely will be meetings, I would assume, at some point. The bulk of it is that email work that you go through. I also participated in that selection process. It took probably 4 hours to review it on my own time at home. It's not as substantial, but it is the bulk of the workload for that committee, so it's tough not to address that.
Yeah, but it's the way that it's addressed, and so I'm not perfect. I miss things. I missed this. I honestly don't even know what this was about. So yeah, I missed it. But this approach is so reprehensible. It doesn't, I mean, of course it's coming from Joe, so it doesn't shock me that it's reprehensible. But this isn't how you deal with anything. And my suggestion is to possibly learn to deal with things instead of at the beginning of this meeting deciding you're going to do a motion and give me no time to even be prepared or ready for it. And that's slimy, gross, and disgusting behavior. So I don't really care. Like, we haven't had a single meeting. If you want like to take shots of me and the youth, the amount that I've done for youth in this community over 15 years here is more than you'll ever do in your life for anybody. So that is, I reject your shots at me towards the youth completely, and I don't think that you're tough by trying to bring this up in council without giving any notice. I think it's slimy, which is typical lawyer behavior, I guess.
Councillor Ostindi and then Payne.
Unfortunately, the procedures we have to follow are cumbersome and sometimes unnatural. And so I do have to say that Councillor Iwanicki has followed due procedure, and as much as it hinders us the way our council works, it is by law the way we have to do things. If we feel morally that someone should have done something differently, that can be a criticism we might want to voice, but we work in this legal framework, and this is how we present and handle these things, as uncomfortable as they are.
It's about respect,
And
though.
I'm
I don't care
speaking
about
right
how
now, you're
uncomfortable it
interrupting
is.
me,
And I
and
don't
the
care.
chair did not
Stop the
recognize you.
meeting. I don't care. The
This
whole
is-
thing is ridiculous. It's called being a man and actually not trying to be slimy about things. So, and you can defend his position all you want. I mean, that's not an issue with me. No, I'm not going to do it in the right order. This is a complete blindside attack on me without any kind of warning. And he brought his little puppy dog over there to come watch the skeptical.
Sorry, administration, can you leave the room, please? I will let Councillor Ostindi continue.
I don't care. I'm just going to leave, to be honest.
The point I was making was that, I'll just wait a moment.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to go. You guys can decide what you want to do. I'll go sit with Steven over there. Why? I don't really care. Like I don't need to be helped by these two idiots. You got Joe out here who's foiping my emails and trying to find dirt on me, and writing board letters from the library. And
No, you have to call a point of order.
We are in the middle of an item, and if we can get through that, that would be fantastic. I will let Councillor Ostindi finish, and then we can wrap up.
the floor is yours, man.
That's what the chair tells me.
Well, that's what I'm telling you too.
So, after 100-some years of Alberta history, the legislature gives us these rules that we have to work in. And there's many times I feel so limited by them, but nonetheless, it is what it is. It's what the province gives us to work under. And each of us has the right to advocate in any way we see fit for the positions we believe in, as long as we follow those rules. And speaking to the concept, argument regarding the motion to change, to remove Councillor Johannesson from the particular committee, I will support it based on the fact that the work is being neglected either by accident or purposefully. I am not going to comment, but I am going to say that work was not done, and it's the one function they do all year.
Councillor Payne, did you still want to comment?
I don't like the process, but the process is the appropriate process. I don't like the personal attacking back and forth. I think that is not appropriate, and it shouldn't happen in a professional environment. I know that people are emotional, I know that people get emotional, but maintaining a respectful nature needs to be the priority when you're sitting around this horseshoe. You know, as hard as it is, that's where we need to be, because at the end of the day, we are not representing our own intention here, or our own intent. We're representing the rest of the community. And I think Councillor Ostindi is correct. This is the process that unfortunately we're handed. This is not a situation where we can just all sit around a table and, vent our frustrations. It is the way it is. It's situated the way it is. Defending action is appropriate. Attacking in the middle of the defense isn't. So we need to find a better way to do that, a better way to represent ourselves. At the end of the day, the one piece that I'm having a hard time with here is the fact that this, in particular committee, serves one purpose. And that purpose is reviewing those nominations and declaring who the intentional award winners are. If that's been missed, whether by accident or not, that is the one intention of this committee, the one goal of this committee. But as Councillor Johannesson has said, he already intends not to attend tomorrow because he wasn't able to be a part of it. I think it's appropriate to assign someone else to represent that group. How this proceeds is according to the procedure of how it needs to proceed. But again, I always want to reiterate, I don't like the process, but Councillor Ostindi is correct. It's what we've been handed.
Additional comments? Councillor Bilodeau.
I just really want to say that I know the important work that we do as councillors is the work we do in the community and the work we do on our committees. It's not all in council. In fact, I think a lot of what we do is out in the community. And so and I'm on a lot of committees, I'll say that, and I know the burden is on me to fulfill my job as a councillor by staying on top of my emails and doing what I have to do to show up for the community by being on these committees.
Thank you. Councillor Awanicki, you have a motion on the floor, but there wasn't a name inserted, so maybe I can just do a quick ask so we can get that motion correctly recorded. Go ahead.
I'd probably suggest Mayor Hansen, given that I believe you're the alternate on that committee in any event, unless I'm wrong.
I believe I am, so that we should likely put a new alternate if we could. Councillor Payne, you're happy to do that? Would you like to restate your motion with those two inserted?
Yeah, I move that Councillor Teach Johannesson is removed from his position on the Youth Spark Committee, and Mayor Hansen is appointed in his place with Councillor Jazz Payne as the alternate, and Mayor Hansen will present the awards.
You can probably leave that portion out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any further comments? All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Council, let's take a 10-minute recess, and then we will reconvene in here to go into closed session. Thank you. Thank you. We're up. Councillor Mearns, can you bring us into closed session?
I make a motion the council move to a closed meeting to discuss advice from officials, and this item shall remain confidential pursuant to section 29(1) of the Access to Information Act, SA 2024 CA-1.4, and section 197(2) of the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000 M-26.
Excellent. Thank you. All those in favor? And opposed? That motion is carried. Council, we'll head to the Lozelle room, then we'll come out between motions, and then we'll go back again. Would someone like to make a motion to come out of closed session? Councillor Iwaniki.
Yeah, I move that the closed session ends and we revert to the regular meeting of council.
Okay. We have Councillor Burns? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Say that again. We have a motion to come out of closed session on the floor. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Council, I'd like to make another motion, and that is that council give authority to the CAO to negotiate facility sponsorship rates as discussed in closed session. Comments? Great. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Councilor Mearns?
Make a motion that council move to a closed meeting to discuss privileged information, and this item shall remain confidential pursuant to section 32(1)(a) of the Access to Information Act, SA 2024, CA 1.4, and section 197(2) of the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000 M26.
Thank you. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. We'll head back one more time. Excellent. I'll look for a motion to come out of closed session. Councillor Oostende.
Move that we come out of closed session and return to regular session.
Regular programming.
Programming.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Council, we've reached the end of our agenda. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.